While I was pregnant, I broke up with him. So when I had her, I actually didn't call him to come be a part of the birth. And I think he was a little begrudged, but that's neither here nor there. That was for me. I wanted to have that moment be sacred and special. I wanted to be able to be focused, and just be supported by my mom, my sisters, my aunts, my grandmother. While I was pregnant, I broke up with him. So when I had her, I actually didn't call him to come be a part of the birth. And I think he was a little begrudged, but that's neither here nor there. That was for me. I wanted to have that moment be sacred and special. I wanted to be able to be focused, and just be supported by my mom, my sisters, my aunts, my grandmother.
Oh, you were finished? Oh, well, allow me to retort.
This lady is one of the biggest assholes I've seen in recent times and shit. I'm not surprised. I'm actually quite dour and lethargic and shit. Look, I'm 56, man. Right? You heard what she said. She said he was aggrieved because she didn't call him when she was having his baby. She broke up with him and shit. Alright, if I read between the lines, she's a side chick or a situationship or somebody. The wrong end was sticking out from under the covers at a crowded venue. And somebody help themselves. Anything is possible, man. I mean, our people just devolved and shit. I'm done. I'm a Generation X, and they be trying to hang the blame game on us and shit. I can tell you, the blame game ain't on us, motherfucker. It's from that lead generation, the boomers and the motherfuckers before that and shit. We didn't regulate. This the fact that you see the women sitting around nodding their motherfucking heads. Tells you everything you need to know about why you ain't in a relationship, why you don't want to be in a relationship, why you you playing video games and put money in the bank because what's the use, right? What's the use even going out? You don't want to go to a club and shit. Some hoe is gonna be in there and mob up on you and shit, looking for you to buy them drinks and shit. It don't matter who you are, what you look like, 6 feet or 3 feet below on the top and shit. Doesn't matter, okay? You come there busted as fucking shit, you gonna get a chick, okay? I grew up tragically non-select. I wasn't actually, but that's the box they put me in and shit. And I tell you, just sitting here, looking at that shit, I was mad as fuck. And then I laughed because I know that, even being non-select and shit, being like a victim in the Chicago ghetto system and shit, the house to fist pipeline and shit, to straight up robbery pipeline. Even that shit, whenever I was around, none of the women in the family would say that shit in front of me. They always tried to make me leave or something to close it. I've had so many doors slammed in my face growing up and shit. It doesn't mean I didn't hear what they were talking about, shit. Because you're a kid and everything, you just be curious and shit. Women share a lot of confidence in shit. You heard what this woman said. She just wanted to this to be a sacred thing and shit. Just the women and shit. And what happens if she has a boy? I'll tell you what happens if she has a boy. She's gonna hate that kid because he looks like the father. She's not even gonna want to breastfeed that motherfucking kid and shit. She's gonna palm that kid off on her younger sibling or somebody else's grandma probably. And that's who's gonna raise the kid shit. And he's equally fucked because the grandma raised the bitch that had him and shit. And they're gonna kick his ass and abuse him and shit and tell him he ain't shit. He's just like his father. And he's never gonna get the opportunity to see his motherfucking father. He's just gonna listen to what she has to say and shit. Either at one point he's gonna get so disgusted and sick of it, he's just gonna go get some milk and disappear one day and find himself, or he's gonna become a simp, a white knight, a zombie, as I like to call it these days. There's a lot of matriarchal zombies walking around and shit, agents of chaos, soulless beings that would tell you you're wrong for living your best life and caring about yourself when their sponsors do exactly that. I feel like throwing a fold up chair at that lady, like one of the lawn chairs that they were sitting their fat asses on. I feel like just picking that shit up and just throwing it like a wrestling show. Just run in, just hit like plank her on the head. It's a fat chick, okay? It's a fat, sloppy, unappealing woman and shit. Maybe she has a little bit in her face or something or whatever she looks like turned around. But like she's useless, all right? The only reason she had that kid because she wanted a fucking victim. She wanted to abuse somebody and shit. And they're gonna abuse it. If you're a boy, they're gonna abuse you for having a penis, man. They're gonna try to bend your will and break you and turn you into something you're not, probably, if you get my drift. And it sucks. Alright? Man, look. You guys better wake up and shit, okay? The world you live in is really a sugar-coated top of this shit. The real world is beneath their motherfucking skirts. Okay? That's the reality of the situation and shit. Everything revolves around their box. Right? And you just better regulate. Okay? You just better regulate shit. You just gonna get the fuck out or you just gonna tuck your shit and, keep it a buck, right? I was disgusted, but then, I had to look at the right side of shit. We are perpetually having to do that. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders from the first moment we open our eyes and shit. And, I've hard to know that the bitches and the hoes and the mental patients and shit and the witches in the family would never say that shit in front of me. They never told me no shit like that. Okay, and if they did, it was like they even approached that. It was always like multiple people on one. I would see at least 3 people, including a kid. And the little thing that makes me mad is like when you see other guys in a family and they have nothing going on. They're just there. I'm like, why are you here? Nothing's going on. They're not talking. They're doing their business and shit. They're making bad decisions. They don't need you to do that. They just need you to come in there with the push room when they fuck their life up and shit. Right? They need you to get your ass in there and do your job as a janitor and sweep up that shit and sometimes be a pit bull and put your own life in danger. It really doesn't matter and shit. Make sure you sign all those insurance papers and shit, okay? And if you don't worry. They'll get a stamp with your signature on it and rubber stamp that shit. One of them's probably a notary and shit. They're doing illegal shit. This is a time of giving and shit. I'm a giver, okay? Not as much as people would think and shit. Just like a lot of people, in the family thought I was a noob and shit. I was obviously triggered by this clip, so I decided to make this fucking video real quick. Right? I got shit to do. I work for a fucking living and shit. I actually lived my life and shit for as much of it as I could and shit. And that's a miracle considering that there was no guidance for me growing up. They told me basic things and shit. I built on that. And I was a latchkey kid. I got a lot of my morality from old TV shows and shit. It's so sad, right? In the black community and shit. Luckily, I had, I don't really have a glowing red nose, but I was definitely Rudolph. And I didn't play no reindeer games and shit. One of my old small hat teachers used to call me Charlie Brown and shit. I felt like flipping under a bird, but I said fuck it. Because them niggas that she was ignoring and shit, they used to say racially insensitive things to her. They were anti-Semitic for real. And I wasn't. I was trying to survive. And then when I went home, it was hard to survive and shit. So you had to make yourself little and fit in a box and shit for however long you were there. And I always hoped that I would get my flowers and shit, quote unquote, at the end, but it really didn't shit. The epitome of disrespect is you leaving home and no one gives a fuck you was gone. They didn't notice the shit. Then when you got back, they thought you was still there all that whole time and shit. And they talked to you in a certain kind of disrespectful fucking way. This is the black male experience and shit. Right? I'm a man. Right? Not a fucking male. Alright? I talked to motherfuckers that said they wish they could get on a bus and leave town and shit or do something with their life. They told me they couldn't go to the military because they wouldn't survive. I'm like, well, how do you know? You never fucking tried. You never did shit with your life. You came out of that fucking messed up box and shit, and you just stayed there. You sat next to it and shit on a milk crate and shit, and took the copious amounts of abuse until you believe what they told you. All right? And I was pissed off, and I still feel like throwing a chair at this fat sloppy bitch sitting up there with her women and shit. And I feel like pushing them over too. Like the chair would just come in the frame and hit the chick on the side. It's like a light chair. It's like made out of aluminum or something. The shit would just hit her on the side. You know, it probably bounce off because she's so fucking fat. And then for the bitch to react, I would just come in with like the, you know, do like the big running boot and shit, kick the one chick out the chair and run and up in the other one and keep on going. Just keep running like a motherfucker. You know, ideally, if I had any kind of if there were any real men in the family, you know, at least half males, you know, somebody be waiting out there with a car, I could just jump through the back window and they could gun it to the airport. It's Thanksgiving weekend, right? I'm still alive, much to a lot of people's chagrin. I'm not dead. And I have all my faculties and shit. They so stupid that a lot of these goddamn women so fucking stupid that, like, it's like you're invisible. Just don't say shit. And I looked around when I came back and, you know, some of the dudes I thought were just doing what I was doing, they really was that stupid. From fucking zombies and shit. And they're the guys that impregnate women like this. The sloppy ass dudes. They can't see the forest for the trees. They didn't know there was anything around that fat bitch just standing in front of the door, threatening to kill them with a kitchen knife if they tried to squeeze by her. Right? None of these women want any husbands. Right? They don't want any fathers. They don't want any uncles and shit. They just want victims. Okay, King? Now this is your motherfucking lesson for this holiday weekend. Alright? Okay, to celebrate Thanksgiving and shit. And you know why you're a black person and you do that shit. You're just a noob in a goofy. Basic male. And I have no use for you. I have as much use for you as I have for these chicks. I limit the fact that I'm in my 50s now. And when I was in my 20s, I'll just be like, I hear that bullshit. And be like, oh, okay. And I just stay up in the cut. And then when she turn around, she getting hit. If you get my drift and shit. And I respect myself a lot more now than I did in the early days when I was still out there trying to find out who I was. Okay? See, the thing is, you're untethered the minute you come out and shit. And people are just gonna come into your spirit because they need things, or they want things, or they want validation from you and shit, and they don't know why. It's because they ain't shit.
The Black Patriarchy. A non-existent group of fictional black male power brokers not discredited, erroneously jailed or outright killed by the minority majority who look the other way as they work tirelessly to shame, oppress, and outright take out the altruistic black female populace of the honorable democratic United States of America. 3K's inset bitches. These evil wealthy members of the black patriarchy are the sole reason for all the ills of the black community, walking, talking, holding down jobs, and doing everything up to and including giving their very lives in service to their baby mamas and baby's motherfucking kids. Their motto that strikes fear into the hearts of black women everywhere: bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.